Dear Krista and Sven, what were black codes and how did they affect African Americans and former slaves? From Sam. Well, the black codes took place during the Reconstruction era right after the Civil War and the 13th Amendment was established. That's right. Black codes were designed to restrict blacks' activity and ensure their availability for forced labor because slavery was abolished. When the Civil War ended, the 13th Amendment was enacted, making slavery illegal in the U.S. Black codes were a legal way to have slavery because it was forced labor with no payoff. In fact, in some states, African Americans were forced to sign yearly contracts for forced labor. If they refused, they risked being fined, arrested, and forced into unpaid labor. But there were some upsides to black codes. Black codes allowed former slaves legal marriage, ownage of property, and limited access to courts. But they weren't allowed to testify against whites, serve on juries, or in state militias, vote, or start a job without approval from a previous owner. In some states, they passed a law saying that African Americans could be thrown into jail for being a vagrant. A vagrant is someone who wanders around Italy and has no permanent home or employment. Yes, Fen, you're right. African Americans could not own firearms. They also couldn't testify in court unless it was a case that involved other blacks. Also, blacks were now allowed to have a legal marriage, but were prohibited to marry someone of a different race. Because the North's reaction to black codes were so furious and outrageous, they helped produce racial reconstruction from 1865 to 1867. They also helped enact the 14th and 15th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. Yes, Fen. The Freedmen's Bureau did help blacks during the Reconstruction. The Freedmen's Bureau also helped get rid of black codes. But when Reconstruction ended, black codes got reenacted into Jim Crow laws when the Jim Crow era began. This led to 100 years of segregation and discrimination that didn't end until the 1950s and 1960s. In fact, did you know that the Jim Crow era didn't officially end until the Civil Rights Act of 1964?